Hello, this is Noah Baldwin with Social Media Marketing, and I'm here with
Izzy.
from Cosmetology. And today, on this is going to be our second episode in this what do you call it?
Series.
Series kind of thing, mini series maybe. But last time we talked about why entertainment and movies and how AI is kind of ruining all that. And last episode was kind of grim, but this episode is not going to be much different.
No.
We are talking about comedies, and comedies is referring to any sort of movie or show that is comedy related. But we'll also dive into some other things that aren't specifically comedy but have elements of comedy.
Like actual comedians that do stand up comedy?
No, in movies
Okay.
that have comedy in them. So today, I want to start off with why comedies don't work anymore. Do you have any ideas why comedy
I
doesn't
just
work?
I think that especially in the newer movies coming out, people try to make jokes in movies about either real world issues that are going on and they don't use it in the right way at all, or it's just the same kind of jokes repeated over and over throughout movies over the time. So it's not funny anymore.
hmm Well, there's definitely been a huge decline in the amount of comedies just being like comedy movies
In general.
that are being made and comedy movies that are doing successful. Obviously, like Billy Madison, um, or not Billy Madison. What am I thinking of? What was that? What is Adam Sandler's new movie? Is that was Billy Madison too?
Happy Gilmore too?
Happy Gilmore, not Billy. Got those two confused. See, like Adam Sandler movies are just when you just think of like an image of them in your head,
Yeah.
they're just like all the same. Like Happy, obviously, like Happy Gilmore did too, or did good
Yeah.
because it's a sequel. And like I talked about in the last podcast, you have a super popular film. Obviously, the sequel is going to be super
Yeah, it's
popular.
just gonna do as good.
Maybe not as good, but like it's an anticipated sequel. Like just the way when it came out and how it came out. Anyways, with comedies, I think the biggest like year for comedies was definitely like maybe late 80s all the way through like early 2000s. That's when like the biggest um comedies were coming out.
I need some refreshers on
Yeah, I'm going to pull up highest grossing comedy movies of all time. Let's take a look. Let's see if this is up to date. Yeah,
Home
okay.
Alone.
So we have a list of the 50 highest grossing comedy films of all time.
Oh my god. The first four are peak movies.
And obviously Home Alone 1990. Like that's
Meet the Fockers. I love that movie.
so we have a movie from 1990 and the latest one is The Hangover Part 2 from 2011. And scrolling through here, I don't see okay. We have a Tootsie from 1982. Have you even heard of that before?
No.
I have no idea what that is. But scrolling through here, nothing really goes past the late 80s to maybe early 2010s. Most of them they're all in like the same like 20-year gap. 30 almost 30.
And there's a few on there that are sequels. Like
A lot of these are sequels. And so that's exactly what I was talking about. The highest grossing comedies of all time, like they haven't even come out within the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Or what is it? 15 years.
Yeah.
There's
Which is
no
sad.
there's no comedy that's at least highest grossing. But like I kind of mentioned in the first podcast, the amount of money a movie makes doesn't necessarily mean it's like the best ever. But it obviously shows because like how Home Alone is number one, that makes sense. And like Meet the Fockers and The Hangover, Bruce Almighty, Mrs. Doubtfire, Austin Powers. Like obviously, just because it's highest grossing doesn't mean it's also not a good movie. And Home Alone is arguably the best like holiday Christmas movie ever.
I feel like everyone watches it.
Yeah. So obviously like this isn't like inaccurate
Yeah.
to the best comedies of all time. And that just proves that like at least at least in the last 15 years no exceptionally like critically acclaimed like comedy movie that has made a bunch of money has came out within the last 15 years.
I can't even think of like a comedy movie that's come out recently.
Exactly. And people when people think of comedy movies, they think of 90s movies and they think of
Those movies that's on the
yeah,
list.
early 2000 like Hangover and but I did some research and some of the most movies that came out in those late 90s early 2000s um like Billy Madison's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Dazed and Confused, they have become like classic pieces of media because you know they're not only really funny comedies but they're also really good movies.
Yeah.
And those all of those have came out 20 plus years ago. And even they've even kickstarted some careers like Billy Madison helped kickstart Adam Sandler's. He's one of the biggest guys in the world
Yeah.
now.
No, yeah.
And Dazed and Confused. Have you heard of that movie?
I don't think so.
It's a comedy movie that featured Matthew McConaughey, and it
Okay.
was one of his first, not one of his first, but it it was one of his roles that helped him become as famous as he is today. And but they all didn't do good when they first came out, right?
Right.
But they're still, and they were review bombed. They were like people were calling them bad, and they had like low Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, they had good like audience score because they're really funny comedies. But like they were reviewed bombed and they were called bad. But now
They like set the foundation.
yeah they're classics. And so in the comedy world, the point I'm trying to make is that in the comedy world, reviews don't really mean much. When in Rotten Tomatoes, it's the what do you call it? It's the critics.
Oh yeah.
When they say critically acclaimed,
Mhm.
that means like the Rotten Tomato score is really high, and the like basically the test audience for the movie said it was really good. So that's why Rotten Tomatoes is super high, and then that's what helps a movie like perform well and make a bunch of money because people go and see it and people buy merchandise and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But and then audience score is what people that went and saw the movie go back, they come back home and then they rate the movie
Oh
on what
okay.
they personally thought.
Yeah.
But some of the most popular comedies ever were like they didn't perform very well on the the Rotten Tomato score. and that definitely um kind of stumps the money making of some of the movies, but but then people came back and they gave their own personal audience score, and then now they're
Like hits.
high star
Mm-hmm.
movies, like, and they're some of the biggest movies ever. So just because a movie, and that's what happens to a lot of comedies and horror movies. Comedy and horror kind of, obviously they're complete opposites, but they kind of get treated the same.
Yeah.
Where you can't really have a full blown comedy and try to make it something else besides a comedy, or like having like a comedy family movie and making it something other than that. Same with like a horror movie. You can't really have a horror movie and trying to make it into something else.
Yeah, because that's like,
And that's why horror and comedy movies kind of get pushed under the same
because you've got to kind of
umbrella.
stick like in that one category.
Yeah, exactly. And I I personally think, this is me talking. I did no I did no research about what we're about to talk about, but I personally think that the reason comedies aren't doing so well is not because of it's not really because of the wokeness or like the real world references. It's because people have grown up, basically, and like Billy Madison, like any older Adam Sandler movie, it's just really goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Waterboy, it's just dumb jokes all the
Yeah.
time. Like people have grown up, and I don't necessarily think that wokeness has killed comedies, but it's definitely a factor because some jokes in some of the best comedies in comedy movies or comedy TV shows, like some of the funniest ones, like make racist and bigotry jokes and like sexist jokes and all that, and like that would not slide today at all.
Oh no.
You're if you make anything that has some sort of controversy within it, it'll get killed off.
Oh yeah. Well, like not to like go completely off topic here, but like that's like a big reason why like stand-up comedians are doing so bad now. Like not only in comedy movies, but like Matt Rife, for example. Everyone loved him at first, and then he started making those like sexist and racist jokes, and like now you don't see anything about him.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely the wokeness. Because obviously, like, you can go back and watch a movie from a comedy movie from the '80s, and they'll make racist jokes all the time in movies, in comedy movies, and sexist jokes, and it'll just be really bad. Like when you watch it now, it's really bad, but back in the day, in the '90s,
You just didn't
even
think too much
even the
about it.
even the early 2000s, people didn't get offended like
Mm-hmm.
people do nowadays. And the only exception I can really think of is South Park, obviously.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen that show, South Park is the
Especially like the new season that just came out.
yeah, South Park is like the dirtiest show ever, and people are amazed that it's still on. But like the jokes that they're making in South Park, they're not really too divergent of jokes that were made in like older comedy movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of a sad truth that these top 50 highest grossing comedy movies, a bunch of them are pretty insensitive, and like some of them make some pretty bad jokes in them. But but comedy movies, since wokeness is pushing a certain agenda for comedy movies. It's hard to rely only on comedy to produce a film because you can't make those edgy jokes. You can't do any of that kind of stuff.
No, I definitely think that like wokeness has obviously taken a big toll on them, like you said, but like even if today they were to get rid of like those kind of jokes that they made and got away with back then, it just wouldn't be funny. Like people they don't know how to that's how they found their source of amusement when they were making those. But now there's like not many things that you could put a joke in that everyone is gonna like and think is funny.
Hmm. And that's a lot of what people find funny is um, making fun of.
Other people,
Yeah, that's like the main source of
which is
comedy
sad,
is.
but it is what it is.
But like comedy movies nowadays, unless you're unless you're making like a movie that I can think of is Neighbors. Have you seen that movie
It sounds kind of familiar.
with Zac Efron and Seth Rogen?
Oh, yep.
Neighbors and Neighbors 2, uh, they make some pretty gnarly and nasty jokes, to say the least. It's like it's like frat house meets family home, and like obviously, especially some clips from Neighbors 2. It's a lot of like gross kind of like girl body kind of humor. I'm not trying to sound weird or anything, but they do like they make a bunch of tampon jokes
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and like this movie flopped. Um, the first one didn't do as bad because it's the whole movie, the whole premise is this this guy this guy who's a college frat kid moves moves next door to this mom and dad and their baby, and it's kind of just college jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It's college jokes with the fact that college kids are gross and nasty and mean, with
Yeah.
the family home kind of nice life. But in the second one, they 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 move on from a frat to like a not a maternity. What's
A
the
sorority?
a sorority, like a female
Yeah, a
frat.
sorority.
The they do a sorority, and it's just gross. Like there's a lot of gross jokes and a lot of like sexist humor. And that movie flopped compared to the first one. Maybe it didn't like completely flop. It
But it
made
just didn't do as good.
it did nowhere near as good as the first one. And what we talked about in our first podcast is that a sequel should do at least as good, if not better, because you're only
They were
make
expecting more.
making a sequel is not only supposed to be bigger but also better than the first one. Because you making a sequel, you not only improve the things that made the first movie, you improve the weaknesses and the strengths of
Mm-hmm.
what the first movie does.
Take all the critiques from like the audience and everything.
But when you turn the jokes into just gross humor,
Then it's not funny.
and then it's not funny. It doesn't work, and people don't really like people don't really laugh at fart jokes or boob jokes.
See, and I think that's like unless you're like a middle schooler, those jokes like aren't funny. The older you get, it's like, well, this is part of life. Like it's gonna go happen. It's not really funny necessarily.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe Tom maybe Neighbors 2 is Tom's favorite movie. Who knows? But like no like the movies are like rated R obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's a bunch of like nudity and bad language and stuff like that, and so it's made for adults.
Yeah.
But when you make just gross potty humor,
Then it's not.
adults don't really find that funny,
Yeah.
and that kills a movie, or at least kills a comedy movie and comedy shows. Like if if you try to make a movie funny about stuff that people aren't gonna find funny, that's not gonna work.
Especially when it's
It's
like
simple
older,
math.
like when it's characters portraying an older age making those jokes, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
like Good Boys, for example, Good Boys has a lot of those jokes too, but obviously the characters are portrayed as younger ones, so it comes off a little funnier.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that movie did pretty good, didn't it?
Good Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty well for a comedy movie. It did decent. When you said someone portraying older people, that made me think of this going going in style, and it's features Morgan Freeman. I'm pretty sure this is a movie I'm thinking of. Um, but it's obviously people are gonna find it funny, but all the jokes in this movie are just old people jokes.
Mm-hmm.
They basically just make fun of old people for 96 minutes.
Yeah.
And like that's not gonna hit with everyone, you know?
Yeah.
It's like making like Good Boys. It's a movie basically making fun of prepubescent kids.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna find that funny.
No.
And
But when you're
that's
in that age group that the movie's trying to portray, then you find it funny.
Yeah, and I'm sure some old fart watching this comedy movie going in style. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm sure some old fart would find this movie hilarious
Yeah, because what year
because
did
they
Good Boys
relate to
come
it.
out? We were in like
Middle
middle school.
middle school sometime.
Mm-hmm. Which I remember watching it like shortly after it came out, and I thought it was a good movie at the time. But if I was to go back and watch it now, I don't think I would enjoy it as much.
Yeah, but it and that's the thing. Comedy is obviously subjective, right?
Right.
That's like comedy's main thing, and that's why making these well, like making jokes that may offend like woke communities or whatever you want to call it. Obviously that's a mass majority of people not finding those movies funny, and
Mm-hmm.
then that hurts it. But then when you have a movie like Good Boys that is honestly targeted towards the younger people because it's a movie all about younger generation. And when you have older people that aren't gonna understand or get or find any of the jokes in Good Boys amusing, that's another chunk gone. Or like when you make a movie going in style about old people, like the younger generation is gonna find any of that amusing,
But the older generation
and
will.
it just
It's just a cycle.
it just goes back and forth. So no matter what comedy movie you make, unless it like you make a comedy movie that's gross and potty humor and really offensive, then a large group of people won't like it. You make a family movie like Daddy's Home.
Oh,
You
yep.
make a really funny family movie like that, but then people that only watch South Park and laugh at the N word and stuff,
Then they aren't gonna find it
they're not
funny.
gonna have anything to do with that movie. So in making a comedy movie, you're and even making a comedy shows like cartoon shows, they don't really necessarily like count in this instance
Mhm.
because they're super diverse and you can do anything.
Yeah, that's like a whole other topic.
But when you're making a comedy movie, like with really any kind of other kind of movie besides horror, obviously, but like an action movie or a drama, you can kind of broadcast yourself out to
More audience.
the mass majority of people. And but in comedies, you can really only make your movie about a certain kind of joke.
Mhm.
Like, oh, old people are dumb, or in Neighbors, oh, college kids are assholes,
Yeah, you
or
kind of gotta base it off of like what
good
group
and good boys, like
little kids.
adolescent boys are assholes, and you kind of have to make your movie about that. And like like Daddy's Home, you have to make the movie. You have to make all the jokes and stuff about family, and like you can't push yourself out to the mass audience to make $1 billion movie if your movie is focused on amusement and jokes and you're making one certain kind of joke.
Yeah, you kind of just gotta pick and choose.
But another thing with the older comedy movies, the reason that those hold up and are super famous and everybody loves them is because they were more like out there, like
Like more diverse.
yeah, like they were more how do I say it, like they were more out of the realm of reality, kind of.
Okay.
That's why shows like South Park and Family Guy, they can go on forever and ever and make jokes all the time because they're out of the realm of reality,
Mhm.
or they're not real. They're cartoons.
Yeah.
And a lot of comedy movies that came out back in the day are very reminiscent of comedy shows. That's why so many cartoons are like Family Guy is kind of like it's based off like a sitcom,
Uh huh.
like family drama sitcom, you know?
Yeah.
And um older comedies are more reminiscent of newer cartoon shows that are like made for adults.
I also feel like older comedies, like I don't know, they just kind of target like all age groups too. Like
Yeah.
even if I was to sit down, because like a lot of the movies on that list I would watch when I was younger with my parents, and now even being older, like I would still sit down and enjoy those movies.
Yeah, cuz they didn't make one certain kind of joke the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
They were just funny. But another thing that comes with that is that how I was saying earlier, people have grown up and
They're more, yeah.
no, like not really a whole bunch of people that watch Billy Madison for the first time is gonna think it's the funniest movie ever. But 10 years ago, people would have watched Billy Madison and thought it was the most hilarious thing ever.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's just because people are becoming immune to the comedy, and especially like I could watch 100 comedy movies and only laugh a few times, but I could scroll on my TikTok and laugh every other video.
Yeah.
Like people are becoming immune to it, and like people aren't finding certain things funny anymore. And but the reason that um shows like Family Guy and South Park are still making and producing successful episodes is because um, they're focused on creativity instead of reality, and that's also why a bunch of older comedy movies and shows and everything did better is because they focused more on creativity than what would actually happen in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Like like earlier seasons of The Office, it's just weird stuff happening all the time. Like especially with Michael Scott, the
But
main.
don't they start to like incorporate like reality,
It gets more like
real?
based. It
Yeah.
it gets almost more woke, where they're making a lot of the same jokes, but they don't hit because of things like Pam. I don't know if you know anything about The Office, but in the show, like Pam and Jim, spoilers by the way, sorry. Pam and Jim fall in love, and that's like a super serious part of the
Mm-hmm.
movie. Like they're standing out in the rain, and
Yeah.
Jim like confesses his love for her, and like it's super. It's like there's been like a whole multiple seasons of build up to
Yeah.
it, and then boom, it's a super serious moment, and then Michael also has that kind of same moment where he falls in love, and like Dwight, they all have these serious moments, and it eventually drags the creative comedy into like more relatable comedy or like real comedy,
Yeah, so it's not
real
as
world
funny.
comedy, and that just drags it until they eventually until they're starting to they're they're trying too hard to make the creative
It's like
comedy.
forced comedy.
Yeah, and that's why the last season of The Office is like not funny at all.
Yeah.
And that's what in like real world, like, or not real world, but like modern comedy movies are so focused on being relatable and being like, oh, this is every day, like, oh, this happens to everyone, you know. But like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, it's about an everyday thing about this kid skipping school, but like the stuff he does during the movie is like not in our reality. Like he does, like he goes on his crazy adventures and stuff, and it's an everyday thing, but it's out of the realm of real.
Mm-hmm. Which what is what makes it funny.
But like movies like Daddy's Home, it's a funny movie, but it focuses on like a real dad versus a stepdad, and like it's an everyday, like, oh, that's happened to me where I've had divorced parents, and like there is like family conflict and stuff, and they can relate to it. But just because they can relate to it doesn't mean that you can't make it like out of the realm of reality.
Right.
Because Daddy's Home is definitely like it's a funny movie, but it's a real movie
Mm-hmm.
compared to like compared to Scott Pilgrim versus the World or Billy Madison or any kind of movies like that where they're not like super crazy and outlandish, or like The Hangover.
Oh
Hangover is a
yeah.
perfect example because it's a movie about these bachelors that get a crazy hangover and they don't know what they did the night before.
Some
Like
like
we
rediscovering.
we've all been there, you know, hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But then they like go on a spy mission, and like
Just things that
there's a
you
there's
wouldn't
a
ever
there's
do.
a drug lord involved. So it's like it's an every not an everyday, or I hope not an everyday thing, but it's a thing that happens to like everyone. You know, bachelors get too drunk, having fun, they have crazy hangover.
But nothing like that.
But then it escapes reality, and it's more of a creative movie than a relatable movie. It's obviously based around a relatable topic, but it has more a creative
Thoughts,
story,
yeah.
and that's a main killer in the comedy movies today. Like Home Alone, it's super relatable. Like being left home alone, and you're
Family's
you're a kid
gone.
and you're freaking out. Yeah, you're home alone. And but it's about this kid setting booby traps for robbers.
That's what makes it like so
It's
funny.
a super creative concept, but it's also super relatable because I'm sure everyone has been left home alone and like been scared.
At least once, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a relatable topic, but it also has super creative story and moments and stuff.
To go into
But
it, yeah.
like, and then movies today are more focused on relatable than
The
creative
creativity, yeah.
creativity. And like you can look at the top highest grossing comedies of all time, and they're all perfect examples where they're relatable concepts, but just because they're relatable doesn't mean they can
They're not
go.
expanding on that creativity.
They can be more creative.
Yeah.
Yes, and but comedies, I would say comedies are the most diverse variety of movies and TV shows. Where like a show like The Office, or how about the show South Park, is all about comedy, right? Or its main focus is to make people laugh. But then, like a movie like Tag. You ever seen that movie?
Um,
That's just the first movie I could think of. But or here, Daddy's Home is a better example. A show like South Park that's focused on comedy is very different from a movie like Daddy's Home that's also focused on comedy. And so comedy, since comedy is subjective and everyone has their own types of comedy, like shows, TV shows and movies that focus primarily on comedy have have the broadest assortment of like ideas and stories and all that. And then like I was saying earlier, you have this wide assortment. It's kind of like Walmart, right?
okay.
You have this assortment of hundreds of different products, right?
Right.
But you're only going into Walmart for
For
one thing.
yeah, you
You're
know what you like.
there's frozen pizzas. There's don't they sell like knives,
Mm-hmm.
video games, pops,
Like everything.
yeah, sex toys. Like they sell everything on Walmart. There's such a huge assortment, but you're only going to Walmart to get a stick of deodorant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what comedy is. Comedy is this wide assortment of so many different ideas and concepts and relatable moments.
That's such a good way to put it too.
But you're going into a comedy, or you're only going to watch a comedy movie for that one specific,
Yeah, that expectation.
yeah, of what you find is funny.
Right.
Like if you think dark humor like in South Park is hilarious, I might not think South Park is hilarious because I don't like the dirty offensive jokes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why it's the most broad category with the most narrow like audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? But another thing why comedies are dying and how comedies are everywhere, right? Or I guess comedy is everywhere. Cause what unless it's like a more serious drama or thriller, but even they have aspects of comedy. And the best example I can think of is the Marvel movies. Those are action, sci-fi, fantasy,
But they still try
bad
to throw in comedy.
bad guys beating up or good guys beating up bad guys, right?
Yeah.
But they have a huge
Comedy aspect.
comedy aspect, perfect. And some of the movies like Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, and I would even say Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
They focus so hard on the comedy.
That it doesn't even make it like how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. but they have such a hard focus on comedy that you could even say it's an action comedy, especially like Thor 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could easily say those are action sci-fi comedies just because they're so focused on
The comedy
the
part.
comedy. But even like horror movies, they have like a horror movie like
Doesn't Scream try to do that? Like the Scream movies?
yeah, Scream is a perfect example of like more modern movies trying to be hilarious and relatable.
But keep that horror aspect.
Yeah, but a movie like Halloween, there is no jokes being told in that movie, and
Yeah.
it's terrifying. But horror movies nowadays, it could be like the scariest movie ever. Like a movie I can think of is Sinister.
Yep.
It's super scary, and the concept of the movie is super serious and all that. But it has with the cop in the movie, I forget his name. The cop in his movie. Oh, it's his name's just Deputy, or maybe it, the deputy, the cop in the movie is he he shows like he gives comedic relief in the movie,
Yeah.
and even like the first Scream is like the one of the more serious ones,
But as they
but
progress, they're
but
trying
it
to add
had
in.
but it has Deputy Doobie, I think his name is,
Yeah.
who's played by the same guy, I think, and he's the comic relief, and like every every horror movie will have a comic relief, you know, and
Yeah.
horror is literally the opposite of comedy, but horror movies will still make jokes and they'll still have the comedic relief,
Just to give it
and
like a little bit of diversity.
yeah, and like drama movies and like thrillers, they're obviously like dramatic and serious, but even they'll have like aspects of relatability and comedy. I can't really think of any examples right now, but like something serious is going on in the movie, but people will perceive it as funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like 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 I'm picturing in my head like a drama that's super serious, but then like the guy is like in his underwear doing something stupid, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's still it's a serious moment, but like people will find that funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why comedy is literally everywhere. And that's because comedy is so diverse that people will laugh at serious moments in dramas, but those same people won't laugh at the the witty Marvel jokes.
Right.
And
Just because it's being perceived in different ways.
yeah, and that's kind of the main reason comedy is dying out. It's because comedy is so broad and so objective that it's just like molding into other forms.
Other genres.
It's mixing into other genres.
You just kind of got to use it like the right way.
Yeah, and that's why in the last 15 years there hasn't really been a super crazy successful comedy movie because comedy is so objective and it's molding and branching out into like everything
Mm-hmm.
that that you can't really make a movie just about comedy anymore
You just
without
got.
it without it completely flopping and
Yeah.
losing money. And yeah, and that's basically like my main point I wanted to talk about is that comedy is not dying out obviously because there are funny movies still coming out, but those funny movies aren't specifically
Just comedy.
just comedy movies.
Yeah.
You kind of can't have a comedy movie without adding some action in it
Mm-hmm.
or adding some.
Like horror or something.
like a horror with some comedy in it. You can't like with like Billy Madison. That's like almost 100% primarily a comedy movie. But now, but now you can't have that anymore. You can't have just a specific movie that's just focused on making people laugh.
Right. Because
You
it's not gonna
it
do the
has to be
same.
heartfelt or scary or action packed or thrilling.
Something to make people want to watch it.
Yeah. So that's why personally comedy movies are is my least favorite genre just because just because it's really comedy is really the other genres like I wouldn't say the first Hangover but like Hangover Part 2 and Hangover Part 3 they're more of action comedies
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really have a movie focused on comedy without it just being a different genre.
Well, yeah, and I feel like when it's like a movie
Or Scream is a perfect example where they're more like funny, relatable kind of
rather than
comedy.
horror.
But no, they're also horror movies,
Mm-hmm.
but they have aspects of comedy in them.
Yeah.
And the only kind of like pure comedy movies that I can think of is like parodies, like Scary Movie.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the only form of comedy, like like movies that I can think of that can still be made today. Is just like outlandish, ridiculous parodies because they make the genre blending of horror and comedy that the Scream movies are, but just take away the horror, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just ridiculous movies. And like same with like, I think there's one called Action Movie where it's about action movies like like action movies that have comedy in them, but just get rid of the action and it's a parody that's just comedy. And I think that's really the only kind of comedy movies that can be made today. But shows are a completely different thing. Or I shouldn't say shows, but um like animated comedy
Yeah.
is like the is
What's
an
keep?
exception.
Yeah.
Cause like I don't see Family Guy or South Park or any of those kind of shows like ever gonna die out.
No, I don't think so. Because like all ages kind of watch them.
Yeah, and they're relatable. They're creative. They can focus on real world topics.
They could get
They
super serious at
they
one point.
yeah they can get dramatic, funny, like and as long as there's real world events happening, they can keep bouncing off of that.
Right.
But like kids show, that's why kids shows die out so fast. Like SpongeBob, SpongeBob is just purely brain rot,
Oh yeah. Like it's not appealing no more.
brain rot Looney Tunes kind of humor, and that's because like cartoons will just run out of things to
Make jokes. Yeah.
unless it's like family or an adult. I shouldn't say it's just those two, but a more adult cartoon, you can you can bounce off of what's happening in the real world, and you can just as long as there's real world events going on, you can just keep making seasons and episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But then like kids shows obviously can't do that.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about that in our first podcast.
Mm-hmm. We touched a pretty good base on it, I think.
Yeah. So we're not gonna dive too deep into that. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about at least. Do you have any other points or anything that you'd like to share?
I think for the most part, I just kind of agree with you. Like, comedy is dying out in the aspect of like you can't have a comedy movie without subjecting it to mainly one age group, and even then, you don't even know if they'll find it funny anymore, just because comedy back then is not the same what it is now. Like, people don't find the same things funny anymore.
Can I cut you off real quick? Another point that we made in our first podcast is Charlie Chaplin,
Mm-hmm.
where some elderly man, an elderly man that's a war veteran, would go into the theater and he'll piss his pants of how hard he's laughing at Charlie Chaplin, right?
Right.
But then there'll also be this little girl licking on a lollipop holding a balloon that's also watching Charlie Chaplin and pissing her pants laughing so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because everyone thought the same. Everyone thought it was funny. Everyone thought the same thing was funny.
Mm-hmm. Which now
But
it's just
now,
hard to even do that.
yeah. Sorry, that was just an example I thought of.
No, you're
that
fine.
like that fits perfectly.
Yeah, no, like that's kind of like what I
And
was getting at.
and people are only going to evolve.
Oh yeah.
Comedy is only going. People in comedy are only going to evolve more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Where they'll eventually not find dark humor funny, but they'll find the jokes in dark humor funny, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or they won't find Family Guy funny, but they'll find they won't find the show funny, but they'll find one certain joke that's funny.
Right.
Instead of the whole show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't have much else to say other than I think you did a really good job on like kind of explaining everything and like having points about everything.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just realizing how long we've been talking. We literally said we were not gonna, we weren't gonna make this one as long, but I'm sure Mr. Molahan won't mind.
I don't think so.
But yeah, that's basically what I want to talk about. I don't like how last episode it was kind of grim. That my main point was media is dying.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think comedy's ever gonna die. You know,
No, I don't think it'll ever die.
Everyone has some kind of sense of humor, and everyone's gonna find something funny. Yes. So comedy's definitely never gonna die out, but I think the genre of comedy will die out. Me personally, I think it's already died out because movies that are specifically comedy are gone. There's no real comedy movies coming out anymore that are going to make an impact on anything. But when you have aspects of comedy in movies, that's the only kind of comedy that's gonna really.
And I think it's just gonna continue like that until someone can change it.
Well, I don't think anyone will change it, but I think that it's just gonna keep going to a point where the genre of comedy is just a subgenre, or maybe not even a subgenre in movies and TV, but like a descriptive kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
not even a genre, because you can have an action sci-fi, and in a description it'll be like
comedic.
This light heartfelt action movie is hilarious, you know.
Right.
So I eventually think that comedy movies are going to just cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna repeat the point I've just said a bunch of times, but but yeah, that's the main topic of this one, and yeah.
We'll be back with another one next week.
Yep, once a week at least.
At least.
At least once a week. Thank you for listening. Have
a good day.
Come back for episode 3 if you are obviously interested in entertainment and media, because that's what we'll be focusing on.
Correct.
And yeah.
Thanks for listening.